What is up, guys, and welcome back to the Sweat It Out podcast.
If you want to be successful, look inside.
We don't like sitting in the discomfort.
Then all of a sudden that day came when I got $20 and 2 free drinks to do a show, and I was like, oh shit, here we go, baby. You know?
Thank God she hasn't caught a chicken yet, because she'll tear his head off.
Don't be soft.
That patience is key.
If all my friends are winning, then it's going to make me want to win more.
Woo! What is up, guys? We're back on the Sweat It Out podcast, and today we are extremely hyped because this is definitely one that we've been looking forward to. Watching this guy play on the field, tearing heads. Guys, this is a very special one. He is a former All-Pro NFL Linebacker, co-founder of the MMA League, Lights Out Xtreme Fighting, and Lights Out Apparel. Guys, help us welcome the one and only Shawne Merriman. What's up, brother?
What's going on, fellas? How you doing?
Oh, we're pumped,
good, man.
We're pumped.
Stoked. Very excited to have you on today. And most importantly, man, just be able to get to know you and also as well talk about the things that you're doing today, because I think it's always important to hear, especially as athletes, when they leave, you know, their pro days and seeing what they've continued on as a professional outside of sports. To me, that's always intriguing, and learning that from you is going to be extremely fun.
Yeah, man. Well, I think the question is, you know, what am I not doing? Right. Let's start backwards. Well, you know, first and foremost, when I retired, I went straight to TV. I was at NFL Network for a while, then was at Fox Sports, to ESPN, and back to Fox Sports. And so I got into the TV thing. I did some movies, and, you know, I was really wanted to do the thing on screen. I was also had my Lights Out clothing line that was selling Tilly's and, you know, I think 180 stores in the country and so forth.
Wow. Incredible.
So I was, you know, doing a lot there. But, you know, my background and my main thing that I have going on is Lights Out Xtreme Fighting, right? And it was something that I actually got into the world of MMA during the off season of 2005. After my rookie year, I was told that if I went to go work on my hand-eye coordination and opening my hips and some of those movements that you do in MMA, that it would help me be a better football player. And so I did, and I started to fall in love with it. And actually, the first day I walked in the gym, I saw Randy Couture. Randy Couture was right there, and I actually got a chance to work with Randy Couture day one, and then so forth. And I've just been around the sport for the last 16 years. And yes, this Saturday now, we're on Fubo TV. We just announced a partnership with Fubo Sports and Fubo
Congrats.
TV.
Yeah, congrats
so
on that. That's huge.
Thank you. We'll be on Fubo Sports from now on.
That's awesome, man. And you know, it just goes to show, like, the relentlessness in which your work ethic has, you know, come through, not only on the field, but now in your post-career is tremendous, you know, and it's such a blessing to see, because it really, a lot of professional athletes, you know, I used to be a collegiate strength coach working with football and baseball, and, you know, you really see post-career athletes go one way or the other, right? They either don't do anything or they continue to excel. So what really made the difference for you where you're like, nah, I can't lay down, I got to keep going?
Well, you know, the thing is, I say this a lot, and I really mean this. If a former athlete, and I don't care what sport, if you played any kind of professional, collegiate, or anything like that, there's something different about us that wires us different, right? And it's not that we just work hard and stuff like that. We're able to overcome a lot of things. We figure things out very fast. We're passionate about what we do. If you're able to figure out what you want to do for that second part of your career, you're going to be successful. You just have to figure out whatever made you get up in the morning, whatever passion you had and what you did. If you find a way to take that passion and what made you successful in whatever sport you played, you're going to be successful. I'll tell anybody this. Athletes are the most disciplined people on the planet of the earth.
Facts.
Discipline.
Yep, I agree. You
know, straight up. I mean, from eating to knowing when to sleep to working out when you don't want to hey, I can't do this because I have to do that. Athletes are the most disciplined people on the planet Earth. So when you're walking into any kind of business field, whatever you're doing, you're walking right in being disciplined. And that means being on time. That means doing the right things. You're just disciplined right away. So you're already set up for success. Guys just have to figure out what that next thing they want it to be.
Love that.
Where did you learn your discipline from, man? You know, I mean, it comes in so many different ways from so many different people. I'd love to hear, you know, your experience on how you were really able to, because it's difficult, you know, it's difficult to build that. It's not something, for some people it comes easy, right? Some people just have it naturally, but a lot of people, right, you got to work hard to earn that discipline and to be that reliable
sustain
person.
it too.
So where'd that come for you?
I learned when I was very young that you can't be great without discipline. Because you can always be on a cusp. You can be really good, really talented, better than most people, but to actually achieve greatness, you can't do it without discipline. So I realized that. So you can't, that, and it's the hardest thing to do, because the same thing that kind of drives us to do more and do extra. Then you have to start being disciplined with your time, being disciplined with your, how you eat, being disciplined, who you hang around. Everything becomes a disciplined action, because if you're not disciplined in one of those aspects of your life, you're never going to achieve true greatness. And that's when I've found that out when I was, a kid.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's difficult, right? It's difficult for anybody. It's been tremendous to see your success post-career, man. It truly is.
And I was going to say, with that discipline, did you discover that you knew that this entrepreneurial route was in you, let's say at the beginning of your career, midway career, or was this something you discovered later in your career where you already started working on like Lights Out and some of these other projects you got going on?
Well, I got the nickname Lights Out my sophomore year in high school. I knocked out 4 kids in one game. Right?
That'll do it for sure.
And so I'll never forget, I had about 20 to 25 students come running up to me after the game saying, "Man, you knocked those guys' lights out." And I kind of, shrugged my head and said, yeah, call me Lights Out. And so from that point on, the name stuck with me. And in college, I don't know if you guys remember back in the day when 50 Cent G Unit was like really, really coming on. The G Unit had these G Unit tank tops they were selling, right?
Yep.
And so I used to buy these G Unit tank tops when I was in college, whenever I had a couple extra bucks, and I would get design Lights Out like graphics on them, right? Cool. And I would either sell them on campus, or I would sell them, to some of my teammates, and they would kind of clown me because they were cheap, right? Because we didn't have any money in college. So I just, did what I could. But I've always had that spirit there where I knew what I wanted to do. I knew where I wanted to go, and I knew exactly how to get there. My thing was, it was kind of seeing the finish line without taking that next step, right? So I knew exactly if I did this, and this, where I was going to end up. But you can never overlook what you have right in front of you by looking at the finish line. And that was something I've always, maintained in.
Listen, I don't think anybody knows this. I wore number 56 in high school, and, my freshman year was 2005.
I did too.
You're the main reason, man. I'm not kidding. I see you cracking some skull. I played linebacker too. I was like, goddamn, I gotta be this guy on the field, because he's an absolute savage.
Dude, what's crazy? And obviously I feel really damn old now, but the craziest part of that is that I think that every generation you have that person, right? That I wore 56 because of Lawrence Taylor. Mm-hmm. That was, and LeVar Arrington. Those were my, kind of favorite players. And so, and I just talked about this the other day. When you play a certain way, you're branded in a certain way, Lights Out, you have people believing, right? Also that if I wear number 56, like I did with Lawrence Taylor, that they're going to go out and be a savage too. They're going to play hard. But like I said, it all comes with building it, being disciplined, and, doing things how you're supposed to do it.
Mm-hmm. So, I mean, how has it been diving into, now starting your own MMA league and getting into that? Like, what made you want to take the jump from, professional football to like, hey, I'm gonna own this league, and I'm gonna give a lot of people an avenue that most professional fighters are never gonna get, right?
Yeah. Well, that opportunity.
And it's a huge leap for you to take, man. And kudos to you for being able to make it as successful as you have. So, what made you want to make that jump?
For me, I'm always big on ownership, right? But a lot of people don't understand what comes with ownership. They think because you own something, you can slap your name on it, you walk around and poke your chest out, you're a man, right? Or a woman. And it's not like that at all. Actually, it's more responsibility, and you poke out your chest less, right? Or you kind of, because you're always in service of making sure that everybody's good. You become the ultimate like manager. And so for me, playing in the NFL, right? And it was a big reason, and the reason why I'm able to do what I'm doing now. There's no business like the NFL. And once you're in it, you see how it goes, see how things ran. And if you become a sponge, if you're a sponge, and I've been a sponge my whole life. If I got around, and I have been around Lawrence Taylor and Ray Lewis and LeVar, I've been around these guys. So I've been a constant sponge my whole life. And so all these people that I've been around that are, godly and wealthy and godly successful, I've been a sponge. And so after I've learned enough information, I'm able to take all that information in with my work ethic. And then I started to implement it in everything that I'm doing, right? Because I've already seen this person over here do this. I've already seen, multi-billion-dollar company ran from the inside. So when you start to see things like this, and now you kind of back to the athlete mentality, because we're built different. So you take this knowledge, this work ethic, and then you go get after it. And that's how you come and roll things out like I'm doing now with Lights Out.
I think it's truly amazing because when you do surround yourself, right, with the right people too, and think even being an athlete, right, you kind of find, in general in business, you find those people that you need to surround yourself with, right? Because not every single person is going to be exactly the same mentality, whether athlete or not, but you find those people, like you surround yourself with Lawrence Taylor, Ray Lewis, all that. How was that when you were in the locker room? Did you have those athletes, those teams that you're like, I know I need to be around these guys all the time because they're going to feed so much energy, so much drive into me and help me become successful?
Well, I'll tell you, my first time in walking into a Chargers locker room, our fullback, Lorenzo Neal, who's one of the best fullbacks.
He's a legendary.
The best fullback. Yep. Let me take that back. Who should be in the Hall of Fame coming up. Took me under his wing, and I began to work out with Lorenzo Neal every day after practice, every single day. This was a guy who was, I think at the time he was in his 12th or 13th year, and I'm coming in 20, 21 years old, and I can't keep up. It was just on another level. We'll go back and forth, and I'm trying to think, man, how did this guy is in the league this long? What does he eat? How many times is he getting in the cold tub? Is he getting in the steam room? How many times do he get a massage a week or a month? And so, like I go back before, just being a sponge again, right? You being around somebody, find out what they've done to be successful, and then you start to implement that stuff into what you're doing. So yeah, in the locker room, outside the locker room, you get around entertainers and moguls and entrepreneurs, and so you start to just ultimately keep being a sponge. Yeah,
and I love that you mentioned that, because so many people, when they're trying to get started and they like, oh, I want to be successful, I want to be, at the Shawne Merriman level. It's like, okay, well, you don't need to reinvent the wheel. Too many people are trying to, carve out. It's like, why don't you just mimic the things that make all of these people ahead of you successful? Don't make it so hard on yourself. Just find the things that already work and implement them into your own life.
I say this all the time. And when people ask me about starting a new business or starting a new venture or whatever it is, and what do? I say, okay, do you know anybody in that field that's successful? They say, yeah, I know such and such. You call them, you go to their office as many times as you possibly can. You go get them lunch. You go ask them to go to dinner. Find out if you can come by the house for barbecues, cook. I mean, whatever. You stay around them as much as they allow you until you're not annoying, right? You literally want to do that. You want to find out every part, because what happens is, especially when you're talking about somebody that's extremely successful, they've already made their mistakes. They've already messed up. And so by you being around them, they're going to tell you where they went wrong, where they messed up, and how you can either save time and money or both, and have a jump start into what you're doing. So now you might make mistakes, but you won't make the mistakes they made. Totally. And so now it's going to put you ahead of the curve. So if you're doing that over and over again, when you get into, I never, ever start a business or get into an industry ever without partnering up or pairing with somebody who's done it 10, 15, 20 plus years. Never. I never would do it.
That's some great advice, sir.
Yeah, 100%. So who in the MMA world, who is that big mentor for you that kind of took you under their wing and showed you, this is how things are done in the industry?
Well, actually I had a 2-year ambassador deal with Bellator from like 2016 to 2018, which is owned by Viacom, which is obviously a big company. Yep. So I was there every, all the fights, traveling, seeing the meetings, sat in meetings, production meetings, board meetings, whatever it was. And so I spent 2 years doing that alone before I did anything with Lights Out. And like I said, if once you start to see things on that scale, you start to operate a lot different.
Amen to that. And it's so crazy because, we're sitting here listening to that and we're thinking of I'm thinking of myself at least, like, man, in my industry, who I've had to put myself around with to learn this. And hey, this person has had this much success with that. And it's so true, man. It's so true. Now, I want to ask you, when it comes to the athlete and obviously the businessman now, what are some of the things that you said were like, what would you say is like 2 or 3 things that really were useful from being an athlete that you drove in as a business owner for yourself?
For one thing is the obstacles, right? The setbacks and all that stuff. And I always try to make the correlation with injuries in sports. And I've had, knee, Achilles, shoulders. I've had stuff where I had to bounce back from. Same thing in business. When you're running a startup, you're starting out with something, there's going to be so many different setbacks, and you got to just keep finding ways to move forward, regroup, reset up, and then move forward again. So that's the first thing. And then the second part for me was not being denied, right? I mean, if you got an idea or something you really believe in, go for it. Don't let anybody stop you or deny. Run through a damn brick wall if you got to, right? And it's one of those things I really, really, I think it's important for people to know, because when you're starting out, yes, get all the advice from people that did it, but, keep fighting against the people who, discourage you from doing anything that you really, really believe in. And the third thing I think most importantly too would be, like I said, it just goes back to it's so much discipline and when you're starting out, and you got so many different avenues and spending money and going to this and going to that. You starting out, you need to dedicate, give up your weekends, give up a Saturday, maybe rest on Sunday, but give up a Saturday about working, reading something, going to some meetings, going to some seminars. Give up that time, because that extra Saturday that you're getting, and it goes being disciplined, right? Not picking up the phone when your friends call you to go out, or travel somewhere or whatever. Give up, be disciplined about it.
It's amazing when you understand, when you listen to high performers like yourself, sometimes the amount of sacrifice you have to make when you do want to achieve certain levels of success in life. Now, for those which I think everybody who in the world, to some certain extent, we're athletes in our own way. But when we're talking about collegiate, professional athletes who have that thing that shifts them apart, that discipline, what would you tell those people who have never experienced that, maybe didn't even play sports in high school or in college, and don't understand that level of sports discipline? What kind of advice would you give those people for them to start developing that edge, that discipline, when it comes to their life and the things they want to achieve?
Well, look, Bill Belichick wasn't a great player, right? I mean, he wasn't a standout, but he's a great coach. So the same thing, you didn't have to be a D1 athlete or a professional player, but you need to find out what triggered them to do that. You need to get what information and what kind of pushed them over the edge to that level of greatness, and apply it to something that you're doing. Because it's all about understanding and finding out information. Like I said, just never stop being a sponge. There's not a day to go by that I'm not learning something. Not one single day that I'm not picking up on something, some new information is coming across, something I can use to benefit the things that I'm doing.
I mean, do you read a lot? I mean, obviously you're around a bunch of, high level people and you're getting information from them. Like, what are some other sources that you draw from, other than, getting face to face with people, which is obviously a tremendous way to learn? But, what are the other avenues that you go to when you need that little extra bit to say, okay, this is, if I pour into this, it's going to be able to give me back X, Y, and Z?
Well, yeah, I'm a big fan of repetition. Right. You do something enough, you're bound to get good at it. Mm-hmm. And I don't care what it is. You're speaking another language, starting a new business, whatever it is. If you do something enough, you're bound to get good at it. I think it's 10,000 hours or something like that. If anything, you're bound to be great or really good at something. So I always start leaning to that, putting the things that I've learned into works and doing it over and over and over and over. And I spend, times I have an insurance company that I have, a little close to 100 agents, right?
Wow, amazing.
And I'm constantly on with them and talking about training and talking. It's called Lights Out Agency. You guys can check it out at lightsoutagency.com for anybody that's, out there that's looking to possibly be an agent, looking for separate income. But I tell them every single day, repetition, you're bound to get better. I was not a great football player when I walked on the field. I didn't know how to pass rush.
That's crazy to hear coming from you.
I didn't. My first time pass rushing, I never had a sack on a quarterback until I got to the University of Maryland.
Wow.
I didn't even know what I was doing. I had no clue. So, but every day after practice, I would line 3 or 4 dummies up with the little hands sticking out type of deal. Mm-hmm. And I would do my pass rushing drills, and I would have another dummy on the side where I would tackle it at least 50 to 75 times before I went in. And then my form got perfect. And then I learned how to pass rush. And so, like I said, you do something enough, you're bound to get good at it.
I agree to that. What's that saying that goes? It's like anything that's hard, when you do it over and over and over again, becomes easier, right? And then it becomes repetition, and it's just natural habit, instinct that comes to you. And I agree 100%. We talk about it all the time. Like, when you really dedicate yourself to something and you really put in that work, you do become really good at it. Now, when it comes to, because you mentioned, team of agents and not mentioning about your agency, when it comes to you managing now your companies and these people and these teams, like, what were some of the things that you had to learn? Because that's a whole nother ball game, coming from an athlete who's like, obviously you're in a team sport and you work as a team and you got to operate with a team, and if you're a captain, you have to help, lead your team in a different way. But when it comes to like the business side, like, what were some of the things you had to learn right away to manage a team? Because that's hard in itself, and that's a whole nother skill set.
Honestly, you hit it right on the head. It's still a team, right? And because I do have the athlete syndrome that I could do everything myself, everybody move out my way and I'll just do it myself. Mm-hmm. That's how you lose. You have to have a team, and you have to have a team of assistants. You have to have agents. You have to have partners. You have to have, because you can't achieve the level that you ultimately want to get to without having a great foundation of a team. And my mentality for a long time is something I had to kind of retrain myself in doing, is I can't do it by myself. I can't do it. And so what you're supposed to build is the people around you. Have people around you that's going to support what you're doing so you can achieve that greatness. Yeah. Everybody's not going out, and I say it all the time. I don't expect anybody to work as hard as I work. I don't expect anybody to give up their days and work these 12, 13-hour days, 6 days a week. I don't expect anybody to do it. But I damn sure expect you guys to put me in a place where I can do it. Yeah. And I constantly say that all the time, whether it's my assistants or agents, partners, whoever I'm working with. I don't, I have maybe at an unhealthy level of work ethic. Sometimes I think I sit down at the edge of the bed and like, dude, what the hell are you doing? You need to chill, right? But everybody's not going to do that, which is fine. I don't expect them to, but I expect them to put me in a position where I can do it, and it makes it easier for me. So that's what I try to say. And that's what anybody, I don't care if you're, an athlete, if you're starting a new business, you better have a great team around you.
Heck yeah. Mm-hmm. So with that being said, real quick, what is your vision and culture when it comes to the team around you and the businesses that you have in place? What does that culture and vision look like for you?
First of all, there's no I can'ts, right? We always find a way. There's always a way, no matter which way you look at it, no matter which way you kind of slice it up. The way didn't work. The way you tried the first didn't work. There's 5 other times. If the 5 times don't work, then that 6th time you're going to get it. Watch.
That's right.
Exhaust every possible. And then finally, if it doesn't work, just try one more time. Ooh. That's always, that's always my thing. Right. So, and if you have that mindset and that philosophy, and sometimes, it's every time it's not going to work. Everything you do is not going to work, but you'll never find out what can work if you don't exhaust all those options.
So, I mean, let's talk about Lights Out for a little bit, man. Let's talk about the MMA League you got going on. I'd love to, hear where you think, or where that vision's going to be 5 years from now. Like, what do you expect of Lights Out and the whole squad that you got going moving forward into, the new TV deal and all the great things you got going on with the league?
Yeah, I think that the football partnership was key for us, right? Because we were at Fox Sports before on the regional side, and they were great to work with. But we felt that we have a national and international product. And we have some great fighters. We have a great team of people, and we wanted to be able to be seen all over the country. I think we're showing in Canada and Spain as well.
That's awesome.
And also, probably here in the next 30 to 60 days, possibly even Asia. So with that being said, that was like the first thing to do. The second part of it is that me being a former athlete and somebody who's almost had several opportunities to fight myself and sign contracts and whatever else.
Are we going to see that happen one day or what?
You know what? I want to, man, but I love training with these guys, to be honest. But it's one thing to train with them to stay in shape. And it's another thing to go in there full throttle, because that's all these guys do for a living. And I'll say it again. You don't play fighter. You can play football. Play You don't
It's
play
a
fighter.
good rule of thumb, man, to be honest. Like, getting punched in the face sucks, let alone by a professional fighter.
No, absolutely. So, for us, we're going to be continued a brand that's continue to climb the ladder. We know it's some other leagues out there with UFC and Bellator and some other ones popping up that's doing well. But I've always been told this, and this was by my great former coach, Marty Schottenheimer. He said, concentrate on what you're doing and nothing else matters. Execute what you're doing, nothing else matters. And so we've really been concentrating on building our fighters up, retaining some of our talented guys and girls that we have, women that we have on the roster, and growing an international brand, national international brand, man. I really do believe that, we're the next up. There's going to be a ton of former athletes from other sports that are trying to transition into Lights Out. And I'm going to be making an announcement here soon, the next month or two, about more athletes that just recently retired that now is looking to get into Lights Out Xtreme Fighting.
Let's go.
Amazing, man. Super excited for that. Who are the fighters that you have now that we all have to look out for? Who are the absolute, the Shawne Merrimans of the Lights Out League?
Well, we got my guy Chris McCain, man, that played outside linebacker and pass rusher for the Chargers and the Colts in Miami. And this dude is known for fighting, even when he was in football. So when the announcement he was coming to Lights Out, everyone said that, wow, he's been fighting in practice. That's right up his alley. You got all the support
it's in
there.
His blood.
So, but yeah, we got a ton of guys that we're bringing up here that we're trying to sign to longer term deals and keep them with us.
Amazing. Great. We're super excited to see everything that comes out for sure.
And you're going to definitely encourage me to even want to watch fighting even more. I know I don't watch UFC all the time, but I definitely like to watch some of my big fights and stuff like that. So I'll definitely be learning more.
My eyes are going to be glued for sure. I can't 100%.
Wait. 100%. And I know we're getting close to wrapping things up, because I know you're busy and you got a lot of stuff going on, brother, which is amazing. But one thing I do want to, bring up real quick is moving beyond, you mentioned something, going international. And that's definitely not an easy thing to do. But I could tell you're a guy who shoots for those goals that are far-fetched, who definitely drives for that massive success. And what would be the biggest piece of advice you can leave out to everybody today when it comes to shooting for those massive strides and those goals in life and not giving up on that?
Well, for one, you're always going to achieve a goal. You might plan on it taking 6 months, a year, 2 years. It might not happen for 5 or 10. I mean, you can always achieve that goal. And sometimes the goal that you're achieving for might not have been a goal that's really for you, to be quite honest. For prime example, I've had a couple opportunities we just talked about to fight. My biggest thing that I'm smart about that I haven't done was fight, because now if it does happen, it's going to happen in Lights Out. Mm-hmm. Right. So nothing against any organization out there, but if I'm going to fight for anybody, it's going to be for Lights Out, So, but that was my goal, to fight when I retired. And then so that my goal changed now and say, okay, my goal didn't work. Now I got Lights Out. So now if I ever was to take a fight, it's going to be with Lights Out Xtreme Fighting. You always going to get to the destination, right? And you have to have a long-term, big picture plan. You can't be short-minded in this thing. I set these goals. I'll tell you even a grander, bigger story than that. I bought Lights Out, the trademark and registration and things like that, back in 2006.
Wow.
Back in 2006, it was a company called PJ Salvage, and a parent company was called Loomworks, out in Irvine. This is a company that was doing 7 figures a year, and I bought the name and rights from them. And did I know that I was gonna have Lights Out Xtreme Fighting, 16 years later, or however long it was? No. But I had a vision that I wanted to build a brand, and I wanted it to be something bigger than Shawne Merriman, the football player who's kind of running around with a blue mohawk and acting crazy, right? So I wanted to be bigger than that. I just knew, but I had to start somewhere. I started with purchasing the name and rights from a very big company. I think they were worth a $75 or $100+ million company at the time. Wow. I bought it from them. And so I started from somewhere, and the vision was, okay, if this is where I want to be, I want this to be an international brand like we just talked about. What's step one? Let me own the name and rights first, right? And then we can go from there.
I love that, man. And like we said, we know you're a very busy guy, and we don't want to hold up too much of your time. So before we let you go, I know Menda's going to have one final question. But where can people find Lights Out? Where can they reach you if they need to, or your team, in order to be able to, if they're a tremendous fighter, join Lights Out Ultimate Fighting and be able to take it from there?
Yes. Check us out at lightsoutxf.com. And then me on social media, it's at Shawne Merriman across all platforms, TikTok, Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. So check us out. I'm constantly posting, mostly to mess with other people's fans, or Raiders fans and Broncos fans. I have a ton of fun with that. But also I'll be posting a lot of information about what we have coming up. And Fubo TV this Saturday at 6:30 p.m. Pacific, Fubo TV, Lights Out Xtreme Fighting. We're coming out swinging.
Awesome. We're going to be tuning in. And I know my cousins are hyped. Like I told you, they were born in San Diego, huge Bolts fans. So, every time we bring someone from the Chargers on, they get so pumped. So thank you, man. Yeah,
Shawne, I want to say thank you again, brother, for coming on here, sharing us your experiences, your stories, showing us, the discipline that it takes to become a high performer like yourself on the field and off the field, and the importance of team, of understanding team, and why you need a team, and why you need to be able to pour into your team so that way you can achieve those levels of success as well, and be able to go international and strive for these amazing goals one day, and being prepared, which was another thing that you mentioned. Start with that number one thing at hand that starts the path to your long-term vision. So I guess to wrap this up, like I like to always ask this last and final question: what's the one biggest piece of advice you can leave off to all our listeners today in one single sentence?
Just keep moving. That's it. Just keep moving forward, right? You just always keep moving forward. Could be an inch, could be a foot, could be a mile. Just keep moving.
Love that.
I love that, man. Shawne,
lights out.
Yeah, lights out for sure, man. I'm super pumped. Thank you again for coming on. It's been, an honor. Obviously, both of us drew a huge inspiration from you growing up and watching you play, and now to see, your post-career doing so well, it's even more inspiring. Yeah. So thank you so much for coming on the podcast, brother.
Thank you, guys, man. Thanks for having me. We've got to do this again down the road. For sure.
Yeah, for sure. If you're ever in Miami, you let us know. We'll bring you in the studio.
Done deal. You
Always
got it.
here to support.
All right, brother.
Absolutely. Thanks, fellas.
Yeah, good luck this weekend, man.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you. All right.
You guys heard it. Lights out from the legend himself, All-Pro linebacker, and now leader in the MMA industry, Shawne Merriman. If you guys loved what we had to say on this episode, make sure you guys subscribe both on YouTube, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, wherever you guys are tuning in to us. And if you want to leave us a message, best way to do it is to drop a rating and a review. We appreciate you guys as always. Mendes, you got anything to say?
Whew, what can I say, man? It's wonderful to learn these experiences from some really big high performers like Shawne himself, and really drive energy into everybody that's listening to go out there and crush your goals. Go be like Shawne. Be lights out. Take off heads. Hit those obstacles. And don't be scared. Guys, keep on moving.
Let's go.